Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's time for some more Saturn versus PlayStation action, and this week's video promises to be probably the closest comparison yet because we are taking a look at Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition and how that squares off against Ridge Racer Revolution. So this week we're going to start with the PlayStation first in the graphics department, and Ridge Racer Revolution for December of 1995 isn't a bad looking racing game in all fairness. I think it's quite clear, it's quite crisp, everything runs quite well, the tracks all look reasonably good, and the game does have quite a good draw distance. In fact, I'll be honest, I don't really think I noticed any pop-up in this game at all, which is really impressive for the time. Downsides would probably be the fact the game hasn't really improved over the original Ridge Racer. In all fairness, the cars still do look quite primitive, and the menus as well, they look really basic and simplistic. I don't really think they look that appealing. I really think they could have progressed those as well. So overall in the looks department, Ridge Racer Revolution isn't that bad. So moving over to the Saturn, and if there's one thing that Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition did, it was improve upon the original Daytona USA in the graphical and presentation department all through the game, because this game looks far better than its original. It runs much better, the tracks look better, it's got a better draw distance, although the draw distance still isn't as good as Ridge Racer Revolution. Despite this being a newer game, the cars do look better on this game than Ridge Racer Revolution as well, and overall the presentation of the game through and through in comparison to Ridge Racer Revolution is better. It feels more modern, it looks more presentable. So overall in the looks department, Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition is the winner this week.
Gentlemen, start your...
So we're going to head back over to Ridge Racer for sound and music first, and it's a bit of a mixed bag here. I say that all the time, I feel, when I talk about sound effects and music on games, but we've got a really good soundtrack. We've got 68 minutes of music on this game, and it's quite varied and it's quite good to listen to as well, so it's a real plus point, the soundtrack. I felt the original Ridge Racer had a great soundtrack too, and this one's no exception. Sound effects though aren't quite as good. The cars sound tinny when they bang into stuff, and I feel the engines don't really sound as good as they could. They're a bit of a high-pitched noise, and I don't really like the way they sound. I do like, though, the voiceover chap on Ridge Racer. I've always liked him, and I just feel he's kind of got this irritating voice when he says some of the comments, but it is quite appealing. So overall, in the sound effects and music department, music good, sound effects a bit hit and miss. So heading back to Daytona to talk about sound effects and music, and it's quite a similar story here too in terms of the music being quite good. It's been redone from the original Daytona, so it feels quite fresh, and that's an appealing thing. A downside would be there's only 47 minutes of music in this game, so that's quite a big difference in comparison to Ridge Racer Revolution. So if you're going to get tired of one game's soundtrack sooner, it's going to be Daytona USA. Sound effects for the cars and engines though are definitely better in Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition, but the voiceover chap not as good on this game. I just don't think he's as appealing, not as good, and not as clear either. So overall then, in the sound effects and music department, Ridge Racer Revolution comes out on top. So heading back to Ridge Racer for gameplay, and I have fond memories of playing this game when I originally bought it, but going back to play it now, you realise it doesn't really play as well as you thought 25 years ago. It's got a really light, floaty control system that I don't particularly enjoy in all fairness. I don't like the power slide mechanics as well, because you'll launch into a power slide, then all of a sudden your car jerks back and you go straight into a wall, and it's infuriating. And one of the things about the walls is that if you just clip the walls on this game, it kills your speed massively. It's really frustrating, and that is a massive downside for me when going back to play in this game. One small positive that I will point out is the fact that the cars do have different attributes, and you can distinctly notice if a car's got better handling, better speed, Those things are in there. So that's actually quite good because it's a fairly old game. So sometimes in older games, Hardcore 4x4 is a great example where you don't really notice the statistical differences in the cars. But in Ridge Racer, you definitely do. So heading back to Daytona for gameplay, and if you've watched my review of this game, you'll know that I'm not a major fan of the way that Daytona Championship Circuit Edition plays. I feel the controls are still like jerky and not particularly smooth, and the power slide mechanic on this game, I'm not a fan of that either, but it is definitely better than Ridge Racer Revolution. Of course, my big gripe with this game was in the gameplay department. When you hit a wall on this game, your car flips upside down and around, and it's very frustrating. Even more frustrating, I think, than clipping the walls in Ridge Racer. But that being said, when I look at both the games head to head, I feel that Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition actually plays a bit better than Ridge Racer Revolution. That's mainly down to the fact it doesn't have the floaty style controls. I do feel this game is slightly heavier in the way that it controls overall, and I do feel that is better. So the winner of the gameplay department is Daytona. So heading back to Ridge Racer for content and lifespan, and you've got this nice little mini game to start the game with, where if you meet certain criteria you can unlock extra things within the game. You've only got 4 cars to start with, but like I said, you can unlock more. There's 3 tracks and they can be raced in reverse. You've got your single race, your time trial and your free run mode, and there is 2-player link console play, but this is very unlikely in this day and age where if you've got 2 consoles, 2 TVs, it is very, very unlikely that you're going to be able to play this game 2-player in that regard. So overall, in content and lifespan, Ridge Racer Revolution I don't feel has enough over its original version, Ridge Racer, to be that impressive. So heading back to Daytona, and we've got Arcade Time Attack 2-player. We've got a superior number of courses which can all be raced in reverse. We've got a superior number of cars to start with. You can unlock the extra Daytona car as well, but overall Ridge Racer does actually have more cars when you unlock all the extra ones on there. But the key thing really for Daytona, I suppose, is the fact that it's got 2-player split screen, and this adds much more lifespan to the game in all fairness. And I feel overall Daytona USA does have more replay value and more lifespan really, because it's got more tracks, and once you race them all in reverse, that means you basically got like 10 courses in comparison to 6 on Ridge Racer. And I feel that plus the 2-player option really means that Daytona USA also comes out on top in the content and lifespan. So the Saturn has pulled one back this week, meaning it's 4-3 to the PlayStation after Daytona defeats Ridge Racer Revolution. It was actually a little bit of a surprise to me going back. I thought Ridge Racer would be the better game, but playing it now I've realised that actually Daytona is the better game of the two. That is my thoughts though. What is everybody else's thoughts? Let me know down below with a comment as always, and I will be back in the near future with another review and comparison video. Goodbye for now.